Hi everyone, my name is Caroline Corte. I'm a mine engineer and I'm one of the data mine consultants here in Australia. I'll be the one presenting the MSO version 4 for you. And I thought I'd just have a quick chat before we start, mention about how I learn MSO. So I learn MSO probably the same way as a lot of engineers do, by having someone that did the run and copying their settings. Doing a run myself, copying religiously every single detail of that setting, because at the end of the day, I have no clue what the settings are for. Getting a run, not very sure what the software did, but anyway, that's what I got. Try to be a bit more, diligent by slice and dicing the model and then seeing how the results make sense, and they do make sense. I'm good, and off we go. We start attributing and send to the crush shift for him to finalize the problem. So consider yourself ahead of where I started, and probably a lot of engineers started just by the fact that you're taking your time to learn a little bit more. So yeah, pat on the back of all of you guys that are actually watching this. So yeah, so enough chatter for now, and then I'll go straight off on the MSO version 4. So thank you, and I'll turn off the camera and then I'll keep going with the presentation. So the presentation today, the way we'll go out is I will present a few runs from the new features, and we'll discuss a bit of each one, how they're looking and the potential that that feature has. So about MSO version 4, that was released beginning of May, and you should be able to find the version that I'm showing you today on your Studio RM, Studio P, or Studio Underground. The version that I'm showing here is inside of Studio Underground, but it will look exactly the same. It doesn't matter which software you're looking at. So today the presentation, we are aware that a lot of the attendees of today's presentation were actually students or people that may be not familiar with MSO. So we're going to actually give a quick intro and a quick explanation of where MSO sits on the planning sequence, and also how it generically works. After that, I'll jump straight to what is new on MSO version 4. And we're also aware that sometimes someone may not be aware what actually was in version 3. Was very popular version 2, but maybe if you miss some features of version 3, we're going to just do a quick recap, and then we will close up the presentation with mention about how you can give us feedback and how you can contact us. So this is a data mine product range, and MSO is a license separately from the software, but it needs one of our products to actually have the interface. We can have that on Studio RM, so that's where the geologists can have access to MSO. If you are an open pit planner, you can actually have access on Studio P. And today's presentation, I'm actually going to show a version that's in Studio Underground, so that's meant to be for underground planning. So how you would work with MSO, basically you get your block model, and then would be, MSO sits on the optimization tab, but is actually pretty much your first step once you get the block model. That's where you get your stope shapes, and then from there on, you send that to Studio Underground, where you get your design of your development infrastructure, and create solids for that, sequence, and then send that to a schedule. EPS would be the scheduling package that you would use. Solver, where you do your advanced leveling. of your schedule. And once you're done with that, you potentially could send that schedule back to sort in order to optimize your present net value. Or the other way, you could actually have that sold all the way to the Dream Blast guys with ages. And once they are done with that, you'll send that to a mine for the surveying to mark that up. That's more or less how our products for underground software we have and where MSO sits on it. MSO, when it's used for define mineral resource, often enough people use that to publish the JORC mineral resourcing. Create stope shapes, that's the main use. Geological checks and report mineable material from block model. That's where a lot of geologists use, but they can use for other purpose. But then generally that's what they're looking for. Visualize mineable areas. That's an interesting one because MSO, you can actually make quite quick decisions based on a run. So if you want to decide where to put infrastructure, for example, ventilation, shafts, or maybe even a mill on the surface, and you want to understand where the mineralization is going, so you can quickly do a run on MSO and visualize a bit easier than it is sometimes on the block model, where that potential, the mine is actually going, and then make a better decision on where to put those infrastructures. And also, we see a lot the open pit using now MSO to help categorize the open pit and write back on a mining, create a block and write back on a block model. So MSO searches for optimal mineable shape, taking into account ore body. What that means is you have your block model, your geometry, your cutoff grade, and then from there you choose, the method that you wanna apply to create those shapes, a direction, and do the run. There is quite a few options here, besides being just one line. And then you go on output, and the output is a bunch of strings, wireframes, block model, reports. Geometry, what I mean by geometry is your height, your section, because the way that MSO, if you're using the slice method, does is create a slice. They have, your height of section and the width, and you will stack that against the block model until you find your minimum or your maximum shape, and then you continue stacking. That's why we call it true concept. MSO, the workflow, actually I will jump out and go to the software itself. So here is how it look like on the software. You have, your scenarios. That's where you create your runs. If I go inside a scenario, that's where you input your block model. You set up your cutoff grade, and then where actually you want to run the block model. You don't necessarily need to run the entire block model. You can select just portion of that. The shape, that's what I mentioned about this slice. So the section and the level, and the thickness of your slice, the width, and then you start to have a lot of controls of that MSO shape. There is quite a few options going through each one of those tabs, and then you resume the run. The runs, you can have multiple runs all at the same time, and the results, you have the review page where you get, so I'm seeing the results for that basic and for this advanced framework, and that's the solids for it. I'll go back to the solids. Let me take this off so you can see that's the result from MSO. You can also have outlines, reports. I'm just showing here. There is a sun report and a detail report that you can get. So you can have for each single stope, tons, grade, densities, So yeah, quick. That's how MSO look like. Just back. I'll need this shortly. Now go back to the presentation. MSO MindScope Shape Optimizer version 4. So what is new? There is more features that I'm mentioning here, but I'm just showing some of them for you guys to get familiar. So we have advanced frameworks, boundary surface, output files, advanced slice, dilution for 6/8 shapes, and sublevel definitions. Advanced frameworks. Under this feature, we actually have quite a few options. I'll show two examples. One example will be with the optimized regular. So in here, what we have is in red section view of a run with advanced framework done, and the blue shape is actually just without it. This option that I'm showing here is actually the optimized regular. And what this feature can do for you is actually float the location of your framework within your guidelines. And the advantage of that is you may get a better recover, I would say, the material, and optimize where your stope would start and finish. And within that, get a better result. The original without this feature is if the basic without adding this feature, you select your framework, and the software just respect that. It doesn't try to optimize. Just wherever you start pointing that you put on it, you will start on it. And that's a good feature because sometimes you need that control, but sometimes you're actually free to allow the software slightly move forward or backwards the shapes. And looking at the software, when you look around with that, there is not much, it's not very dramatic. So red shape is the one with the advanced run. So just move here. And you can see that find a few stopes out there and here. Look slightly different from a run without that. Nothing dramatic here. But this example, looking at the results and look like the tons and volume, you also don't see much difference. So the light blue is using the advanced framework, and the one is just a normal run with basic. Again, doesn't have much difference. But then when we start comparing grade and also the amount of ore, that's where you see the potential of this feature. But that's, you can see, you can kind of recover quite a bit more. You increase quite a bit of your grade. So went from 17.40 something to 17.80 something, and also quite a bit increase on the ore recovery. So it improves your run. Another portion of this feature is the option of to create stope trapezoids. And the software already creates stope trapezoid, but now you also can control how this wall is going to look like. So you can go min and max. And another feature within the advanced frameworks is actually to create face polygon. And face polygon, you actually can put all the points of your face and create shapes, for example, for sublevel caving. And here was my cheeky attempt to do that. I'll need a little bit more improvement of these walls, but that you can do with this feature. The next one we're going to look at is boundary surface method. Now, MSO old versions, it may have trouble sometimes to finding very good stope shapes for very narrow vein with like high grade reefs and less. But now with the surface method, what you can do is you can add the geological model, like the mineralization zone of that model, to the run, and then the software now gonna do a way better job in getting the result out of that stope, that ore body. So the boundary surface method is actually separate altogether. It is a new method. So when you go and do your shape, you see change, you actually now have in there. So together with this slice method and this method, you have the boundary surface method. And again, you can choose your direction. And the difference between the other methods is, as I mentioned, you would actually add your boundary surface to the run. And that's why the software would contour better that kind of very narrow body. Now, we also have an option to customize our output fields. This is this is a quick example. So you can actually create formulas within the reports out of your run in MSO. This saves quite a bit of time because a lot of times you're going to be doing some calculations based on some of the columns of MSO in Excel. And every single run you have to add that. Now, if you use a custom output field, you can have that on your run already. And you can copy that run or the settings all the way across every single scenario. And you're always going to have that on the result of your run. So you don't miss it. You don't know in case you did use some factors or something as a field. You can keep that on your data. And, the advantage of MSO is always you can recreate your run. So if you have that already on your this field on your output, you keep that forever. Other types of output files were the tube wireframe and the tube strings. That's how a tube wireframe look like. So when you do your run now, you can actually visualize the orientation where the run is going. That's what this tube concept that I mentioned just earlier. And you can see the direction. This saves so much more time now because, especially when you're dealing with rotated models or rotated frameworks, where you start losing the direction where you're actually running, so where is east, where is west, or something like that. So now with the wireframe, you can see exactly which angle you're actually running. And then you can straight away figure out if you have any problem. This is the strings. So this is come out of your run. Once you run your MSO, you actually get this as an output. Again, if you just need to see the direction, you just need maybe a line. You can even measure the angle that you're getting and figure out where you're supposed to be running. So again, very good, very handy for someone that's starting with MSO and have trouble to understand what direction the stopes are being created. Save heaps of time and give you a little bit more control of your runs, so you're understanding what the actual software is doing. And instead of creating so many runs to figure out the direction where you're supposed to be going, you just do one run with this on, and you already straight away see, well, I'm not in the right direction, or I am in the right direction, and no problem. So it's just saving heaps of time. Other output file is now you can see also your wireframe and why it failed. So with your in your log file, you can actually find information. So you can see that was a shape that was originally phase stope because it was subeconomic. But the advantage of being able to see that shape, you can see, okay, it was subeconomic, but how bad was 4.33. I believe that this was 4.4, the cutoff. It's not that far away, so maybe I can look back at that shape and light it up and maybe bringing that back to the material. There's not much more, in this case here, you probably not need much more development on top or the bottom to pick it up that slope. So you maybe don't even need it to have, you can consider that's a lower grade than the rest, since you already have the development to get the top and the bottom slope. So that's also just helping you to add material to your run and don't miss any potential slopes that you can actually work on it and then make that very above your cutoff grade that you're working on. This is an output that will be created together with all your other runs. You can actually find that shape. The advanced slice options, you have a few options to choose from. The example that I have here in the screen in green is one that I use check results with dilution included. The purple one is it has dilution included, but it don't optimize. So the normal MSO run, create the slope and then find the optimal slope and then add dilution to it. In this option here, it actually, after you create the shapes, is also analyze the best dilution, including the dilution on your slope, what is the best result. Again, you don't see a dramatic change. So for example, in this shape here, you can see that took some of the waste out. If I go and show you on the software itself, not much change either. See, it's like bits here and there. But when I actually compare the results, I get something like 170 grams more of ore. Not much. But this is also a small ore body, narrow vein. You may find that different if you have more dilution on your walls or slightly more negative ore body than this. So yeah, it's just an option that you can check it out and then see if you get a better result or not. With the slice option. Since we mentioned about dilution, we have the slope and dilution value added already in version 3. Now with version 4, version 3 also introduced the 6-8 point slopes. So now they just adjust that to be able to create dilution. So normal dilution, you can create the walls outside of the points, the 4 points, and you create like a thin layer with whatever distance you put it. Now with the 6 and 8 points, you can actually contour when you have a 6-8 point shape. So you can actually create something like that. You actually have different distance for each side. Again, it's just following up with the dilution, what shape you would like to have more controls for you. And control where dilution will be going and create a shape that respects a little bit more what you're finding on the field. Sublevel definition. Again, comes with a few options. There is 3 options of how you can do this. And this option, again, is just allow you to move your geometry slightly to see if you can achieve a better result. So there is 3 options that you can choose from. And if you are constrained on the geometry, that's not a solution for you. But if you actually have a little bit of freedom to allow the software to try to find the optimal result, that can be beneficial to, again, you find more ounces or more ore on your run in the end. I'm sorry. So that was the highlights for version 4. I'm just gonna go now a quick recap on version 3. So we're gonna check quickly the development strings, subshapes, 6-8 points, slope smoothing, if structure, and praise method. Development strings is quite straightforward. What it is you add your level strings and then you create slope shapes that actually follow the gradient. Very good option. This was in version 3. Very popular option. What it that though is you avoid surprises when you're running for long term, midterm. Often enough, especially if you're in a very negative ore body, you may totally miss an area of high grade by thinking you're going to achieve that in certain period of your mine schedule, and you don't. So this actually allows you to design more close to actually what's going to happen in the field. Very good tool. And if you have a chance to try on, you're going to get a more realistic result of your MSO run. Subshapes. As a planner, you really don't want to miss any stopes out of your run. The subshape, it creates shapes that are a portion of the geometry that you set up. So in this example here, they keep going looped, is the example where I have half of the height of the stope and half of the length. As you can see, when I run with these options, I find extra stopes that didn't follow the full shape that I actually have the geometry set up. But I can actually analyze this data and see if I can add that to my full run and try to find these shapes. The way this function works is you always going to find your full shape first, and then if there was anything left over that doesn't follow that geometry, we will run afterwards. So you can see that you can extend your development and pick up some of this material. Some of the development is already done. You can just dig it in and get some of this in. Another function that was added in version 3, we actually mentioned a little bit in version 4, was the 6 and 8 point shape. So if you don't understand what I mentioned before of 6 and 8 points, this is a normal shape, a trapezoid, that actually have 4 points. Now, with the 6 or 8 points, what allows you, if you have a narrow vein, you actually can contour quite a bit your body, adding an extra point in the middle of the wall or extra, another 2 points. You also can have control of how much you allow this wall to move. Yeah, that's what 6, 8 points were added in version 3. Stop smoothing. I would say it's my preferred feature in version 3. So when you run for narrow vein mining, your normal run always create this kind of steps between the stopes. This is a section view. With the stope smoothing, what it does is it runs multiple times the same run, and what it's trying to do is it's trying to smooth the walls. Eventually, you're going to see some hiccups here and there, like you can see in this slide. But overall, we create quite nice smooth walls. Very good for geotech and very realistic, because in fact, you're probably going to lose some material here, you're going to break. And the stope shape consider that, so it's almost a dilution that you're not going to have, is already included on your run. It's a more realistic shape. Structure. With MSO version 3, you could add now a structure, and you can ask the software to try to snap to it or to break to it. As you can see here, the wall, you follow that. But eventually, it's still gonna, if there is too much waste, you're not gonna snap to it. So you can see that there is no material in here. So when the stope has too much waste added to it and goes below your cutoff grade, you will not do it. So it just makes, again, to that realistic result from your MSO, where you probably want to break to the vein, the structure, and then avoid unnecessary dilution. In here, you may have to evaluate if you actually take these stopes or not, or if you add this dilution or not, or to do something to hold on this structure in case this overbreak to this. So yeah, MSO, besides I showing you MSO version 3, I'm just gonna highlight what we talk about MSO version 4. So just to go back to MSO version 4, what were the highlights? Just you guys remember and get that home. So we look at advanced frameworks. That's where you get these, polygon faces where you could recreate sublevel caving slopes. The sublevel definition, where you can have a control where vary a little bit, let it float your geometry and then optimize your result. More output files, so help you to figure out which direction you're going when you're doing your runs. Boundary surface method, narrow vein, when you actually want to get that slopes to maybe so to create slopes for you that maybe was not creating using other method. And the advanced slide option, where again you can optimize your frameworks, or you can include a dilution on your run and then get more of that ore that you may have missed in case you didn't include the dilution. A lot of these options are all about advanced options and getting that extra little bit more of your run. Thank you for today. Keep yourself healthy and see you next time. Thank you so much and see you later. See you in the next webinar. Cheers. Bye-bye.